The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Chris Burton. And state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are coming together to try and get a handle on the deadly fentanyl crisis. A bipartisan coalition in Sacramento now proposing legislation that would require public schools across the state to have Narcan on campus in case of overdoses. Narcan is the brand name for the prescription drug naloxone. It's used to treat a narcotic overdose in an emergency situation. The legislation comes after fentanyl deaths accounted for more than 80% of all drug-related deaths among young Californians in 2021. J.W. Owen says his 15-year-old daughter overdosed on fentanyl 3 times. He's thankful she's alive, and he wants parents to continue the conversation with their own kids.
Just make sure you talk to your kids and let them know, don't take nothing out from no one. Don't take the candy, don't take the drink, don't take nothing.
Fentanyl deaths caused 5,722 deaths last year just in our state, according to the California Department of Health, with 224 children 15 to 19 dying of an overdose. The most recent estimates put overdose deaths in Kern at 174 through October. Both Panama Buena Vista and Kern High School districts say Narcan is on school grounds. However, community activists say Narcan in all schools could make a difference in the rising number of overdoses. Experts recommend parents should talk to their children about fentanyl, become aware of the language kids use when interacting that could describe drugs.
5:04 your time now. In your 17 Court Watch this morning, a man accused of prostituting 2 young girls at the Desert Star Motel pleaded guilty to 2 felony counts yesterday. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, 33-year-old Darnell Bernard Edwards of Antioch pleaded guilty to 2 counts of sex trafficking of a minor. Court documents show Edwards took the 2 unnamed girls, both minors, to the Desert Star Motel in Bakersfield and had them engage in prostitution. Edwards also took the girls to other locations in California, supplied them with marijuana, and had them get matching tattoos. Edwards will be sentenced in March. He faces up to life in prison.
Kern County Sheriff's homicide detectives are investigating after discovering a man dead near a playground in Lamont yesterday. Deputies were called to check on the man at San Diego Park on San Diego Street just before 8 a.m. The man had died by the time deputies arrived. Sheriff's homicide detectives say he had obvious signs of trauma. His family says his body was found reclined at a picnic table. The investigation into his death is ongoing. One person's dead after a crash in southwest Bakersfield yesterday. It happened on Spring Creek Loop just after 6 p.m. Bakersfield police say a car was likely speeding when it drifted from the center of the road and crashed into a parked semi-tractor. Officers arrived to find the driver of that car suffering serious injuries, and he died. It's not known whether drugs or alcohol were factors. Anyone with information is asked to call police at 327-7111.
Wasco's new police chief has started putting plans in motion to shore up the city's brand new police department. Wasco Police Chief Charlie Fivecoat has decades of experience protecting and serving Kern, which includes working in Wasco as a sheriff's deputy. KCSO currently serves the Wasco area, and it will until the new department is up and running.
There's a lot of moving parts to building a police department, everything from policy and procedure to vehicle acquisition and uniforms. Generally speaking, they'll say a year to a year and a half, 2 years. The city of Tehachapi, I believe, was able to do theirs in about 8.5 months. And I'm hoping to do something similar to what they did.
Fivecoat says he hopes in the future he'll hire aspiring officers from within Wasco, keeping the community police force in the community.
I hope that everyone will trust that my heart is in it for the right reason. I had the choice between retirement or coming out and doing what I believe is my calling, and that calling is to try to provide a good law enforcement service for the citizens of this city.
The law enforcement veteran is currently on a 3-year contract with the city of Wasco. United Way of Kern County and the Bakersfield Police Department are helping to make the holiday season a little brighter for local kids in need. United Way donated 100 stuffed bears, 100 books, and 100 blankets to the BPD yesterday. Officers will then distribute those items to the Bakersfield community. United Way's Gabe Adame says for a child in a formative stage of life, these items can truly make a difference.
We have seen studies where it's the social and economical or emotional help with them when they have something to hold on to. So if they're able to have a blanket, a bear, and a book, we're doing so much that is going to help them in the future. It could really change their lives.
Officers will have bears, books, and blankets on hand to comfort children involved in traumatic call-outs or dealing with other hardships. Time running out for lawmakers in our nation's capital to come to an agreement on national spending.
With a possible government shutdown on the horizon, Congress continues to butt heads across the aisle. Bree Jackson reports from Washington.
History will be made at the White House this afternoon when President Biden signs the landmark Respect for Marriage Act, giving federal protections to same-sex and interracial couples.
The president will also note that there is much more work to be done to protect the LGBTQI+ individuals across the country.
The bill passed Congress with bipartisan support. Now, lawmakers must come together again this week or face a government shutdown. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is pushing for swift action on a short-term fix.
A one-week CR, so we can give appropriators more time to finish a full funding bill before the holidays.
The two sides are at odds over how much to spend. Top Republicans are pushing for more military funding.
If our Democratic colleagues can't accept those realities, the option will be a short-term bipartisan funding bill into early next year.
Punting the government spending bill until January gives Republicans time to take control of the House and rewrite it. The Biden administration is urging Congress to use their negotiating time wisely.
We believe on the government funding, we believe there is still enough time to get that done.
Congress has until Friday to reach a deal to avert a partial government shutdown. Senate leaders also want to attach provisions to the funding bill, including a major overhaul of election laws aimed at preventing another January 6th. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for NBC News.
Meantime, more than 3 decades after an explosion brought down Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, a Libyan man is standing trial for that bombing. Abu Aguila Mohammed Masoud Khair al-Marimi, a former Libyan intelligence officer, made his first court appearance on U.S. soil yesterday. The FBI says Masoud was taken into custody in Libya and confessed to building the bomb, putting it in a suitcase, and planning the attack with 2 co-conspirators. The 1988 bombing killed everyone aboard the plane traveling from London to New York. Most of those people were American, including 35 Syracuse University students returning from a study abroad program. Masoud could face life in prison for orchestrating that attack. And now to a developing story from our state capital and what's being called a credible cybersecurity incident involving the State Department of Finance in Sacramento. The California Office of Emergency Services, or Cal OES, is calling this a cybersecurity incident against the Department of Finance. While specifics are murky at this time, Cal OES says hackers did not steal state funds, aka your tax dollars. State officials say information is still coming in on what exactly happened and how, and experts are working to contain and mitigate future vulnerabilities. State Senator Dave Min of Orange County has served as the chair of the Senate Select Committee on Cybersecurity over the last 2 years. He says more should have been done before this happened.
I will say honestly that I was disappointed that we did not invest more in cybersecurity during the past 2 years when we had very large budget surpluses. Some people say you want to spend 3% of your budget on cybersecurity. Some say as high as 15 or 20%. But that number is significant.
Now, while questions remain, cybersecurity experts say one thing is clear. We all play a part to protect ourselves. Keep your devices updated and change your passwords frequently is the best advice. Meantime, University of California postdoctoral scholars and academic researchers are back at work at all 10 of the UC campuses after ratifying a labor agreement. Thousands of other graduate students still remain on strike. The 5-year agreement reached last week and ratified on Friday provides pay hikes, increased family leave, and childcare. The postdoctoral employees and academic researchers make up about 12,000 of the 48,000 union members who walked off the job and onto picket lines back on November 14th.
And the Supreme Court yesterday declined to block a California ban on flavored tobacco products like vapes and e-cigarettes. The news means the state can begin enforcing the new legislation as soon as next Wednesday. Nearly 2/3 of California voters approved banning the sale of flavored tobacco products more than 2 years ago, including everything from menthol cigarettes to vaping juice. California will be the second state to enforce a ban against flavored tobacco products after Massachusetts. Supporters say it's necessary to help curb teenage nicotine use.
5:38 your time now, making news around the nation. Authorities searching for a U.S. student reported missing during a study abroad stint in France. The parents of 22-year-old Ken DeLand say he's been missing since last month, and they, quote, fear the worst and want him to be located. They last heard from him as he was about to board a train to Valence in southeast France. DeLand's study abroad program was set to end this Saturday. His visa expires early next year. The public prosecutor's office in Grenoble, the city where DeLand was studying, has opened an investigation into what they call a, quote, disturbing disappearance. Energy source, once thought to be a science fiction, is one step closer to science fact this morning.
Researchers here in California who made the discovery say it could be the biggest scientific advancement in decades. NBC's Tom Costello has the latest.
Nuclear scientists call it the holy grail of clean energy they've been chasing for decades. NBC News confirming the Department of Energy is expected to announce that researchers at the Lawrence Livermore National Lab in California have used lasers to produce a nuclear fusion reaction that creates energy. A huge breakthrough in producing an endless supply of clean, cheap power without radioactive waste or fossil fuel emissions.
This is a hurrah moment for humanity, and it's going to create the backbone of stable, reliable power 24/7 to drive that entire ecosystem of electrified things.
Governments have spent billions of dollars chasing the fusion dream, trying to replicate how the sun produces energy. While it's unlikely fusion could be used in cars, scientists say once fully developed, it could power entire cities and the batteries inside our cars. But that could take a decade or more.
If we had fusion, we could drop fossil fuels immediately and forever, right? It would be game over. We would have all the energy we needed, more than all the energy we needed.
News that researchers in a national laboratory made the breakthrough a boost to President Biden's efforts to go green.
Tom Costello reporting. As winter viruses batter the nation, officials are warning of a shortage of a key antibiotic used to fight infection. Amoxicillin is in critically short supply, and that's concerning health experts. Doctors say as a triple-demic of RSV, COVID, and the flu sweeps across the U.S., the need for amoxicillin and other antibiotics will also increase. Currently, senators are asking a task force be created by the FDA to address the shortage. The FDA has announced the shortage may last until the spring. Experts say consult with your doctor in the event you need an alternative.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.